What is going on, Emotional Fam? It's Remo, and it's fucking podcast Saturday. I have two fucking amazing people with me on the podcast today, and we're going to be telling you guys all about our experience for Dallas that just happened this past year for Infinite Warfare. So I have the duo Matt, and I have the duo Goldie coming at you from the HVK fam. And for you guys that don't know either of these two people, I'm going to give them a quick second to introduce themselves. So Matt, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the couple people that might not know you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm a pretty familiar face with anyone in the Remotional fam, but if you don't know me, I'm Matt. I am Remo's teammate on HVK, the COD team. I've been playing COD since like the beginning of Black Ops 3 competitively, and every single event I've ever been to, I've teamed with Remo, so it's a fun fact.
Hometown represent. All right, and Goldie.
I'm Goldie. I do miscellaneous stuff for HBK. Most of it, I used to be, I can't think of the word right now.
Event
Or
manager.
event manager, yeah. Until I stepped away, but yeah, and then Remo's my best friend.
Hey, there we go. Awesome. So, like I said, guys, the podcast topic of the day is Dallas, and we have a couple subcategories of topics I'm going to get into when we get deeper into the podcast. But I definitely want to start off the podcast with how Nick almost made me late, and not even late, miss our flight for that matter. So Nick is our teammate, is Gamertech's Catalyst, and he lives about 2 hours south of me. I live in Cleveland, he lives in Columbus, so he came up the night before, and we're flying out of Cleveland together to make stuff easier, and it was cheaper for him. So we stayed up all night. Like we just pulled an all-nighter. I think he got to my house at like 1 in the morning, and our flight took off at like 6:30. And we tried to check in for our boarding passes online, and like the website was down online. So we were just like, screw it, we'll just do it at the kiosk. We didn't have to check any bags in. We just had to, like, get our boarding pass. And we get to the airport, and the whole Delta kiosk center's down. And I like look at Nick, and I look at the line, and the line has to be like 150, 200 people, and we have like an hour to get to our flight. So I look around, and I'm like, Nick, we have to ask somebody kindly to cut in line. And this one couple was like, you better get to the back of the line. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So me and Nick get in line, and we're like, I came up with the idea that maybe if I called customer service, that they could print up a boarding pass for us somehow, or like get something done. But we ended up getting the Delta apps on our phone, and we ended up getting the boarding pass to work with like half an hour left. And so we sprint over to security, and for whatever reason, security had like another 200 people in there, and there's a dog, and I'm getting anxiety that they're going to find drugs on me that I don't have. And we ended up like speeding through security somehow, because they didn't have like that, you didn't even have to like take your shoes off type deal. You literally just walk through like a motion sensor. But regardless, it's like our boarding time was like 5:40, and it's like 6 o'clock at this point, and I know that like we still had like 10 minutes. I start sprinting to our gate, and Nick's trying to use the bathroom and grab breakfast with the 10 minutes left that we have. And I'm like screaming at this fool, like praying that we make our flight. We made it with like 3 minutes left, like that. And I'm texting Matt the whole time, like, dude, like good luck in Dallas, dude. Like, I'm not making it. Like, Nick is literally costing us right now, even though it wasn't even his fault.
You were texting the group chat the whole time. It was so funny. Me and Keeper were just sitting there, like, listening or like watching what was going on, just like text by text, and it was literally hilarious. It's like every single text, you could just tell how like Remo would just lose a little and little more full. It was just like every single text. And I actually was concerned that they were not going to make it. And I was like, are you fucking serious, dude?
I don't even know what to do. Like, I can't even tell you, like, I was, like, bothering the hell out of Nick. I was like, dude, like, what happens next? Do they print us up a new boarding pass? Do we get on, like, the next flight? Do we have to pay for this shit? And Nick's like, yeah, I wonder what their Wi-Fi password is. I'm like, do you even care? And he's like, we're going to be fine.
That's pretty much Nick in a nutshell.
Yeah, Nick is just, like, Nick is either, like, calm, cool, collective, and he's, like, the leader of the group, where he's like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and comes back like 35 minutes later. So there's just two Nicks. So I got the calm, cool, collective, like, we're gonna make it, no doubt in my mind, Nick. Thank God, because if he would have just disappeared to the bathroom and didn't come back, and I just sat down on the flight, I would have been really upset. Like, if he just wasn't there, I would have ditched him 100%. I would have got on that flight without him. But I was like my eventful travel, and we ended up having like connecting flights, and we had been up all night, and like our connecting flight was fine and everything like that. But Goldie, didn't you have like some kind of like delays or something?
Yeah, so I decided to fly with Delta for the first time, and I was like, all right, whatever, because I wasn't gonna go. So like last minute, I bought the flight, and it was Delta, and it was the cheapest. I was like, okay. My first flight from Cleveland to St. Paul was okay. There was no problems, whatever. Well, my flight from St. Paul to Dallas, I was waiting there, and it told me on my phone because I had the app. It said go to the kiosk to get your ticket. I said, okay, whatever. And I talked to a lady, and she's like, "Oh, they overbooked the flight. I don't know if you'll make it on there. We have to keep calling names." I'm like, "Are you serious?" Because I like at the time, I don't know where I was for your like whole situation. I was like MIA, but I was talking to some other people from HVK, like Nades and
Mm-hmm.
Prophecy and Shark, and Nades was already there, and he was waiting for me to get there
Oh yeah.
because nobody else was there with him. And so she like was telling me how I wasn't guaranteed to make this flight because they overbooked it and I would have to get another flight. And I'm like, "Are you serious?" I yelled at the lady. I told her I better be on this flight on time because I made up some lie. I told her I had to be there for like somebody's funeral or something. So
Nice.
so I was like, I better be on this flight. I was like, I can't be late. I said I better not miss this fucking flight. So she like kept calling people and she called me like I was the last name to get called to be on that flight. I got the last seat. And they upgraded my seat though, which was cool, but it still didn't make up for it because I literally waited for an extra like 30 minutes and she gave me like problems the whole entire time. It sucked. And then I finally made it to Dallas safely, but with a lot of turbulence and I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah, it's
So
usual per flights. I think. Well, me and Nick were leaving at like 6:30 in the morning, and I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
you
you were
guys
a little
left.
bit later.
I was a little bit later. I think I left around like noon, 1 o'clock ish, because I know I got like a little late breakfast with my dad beforehand. Or no, with my brother. Sorry, he dropped me off. Yeah.
Well, the goal was to have the HVK COD team land all at the same time and at the same airport. So I was
Didn't
like,
you
all
guys
right.
land extra early?
Yeah, well, I was like, Matt, what time do you guys land? And you're like, oh, like, me and Keeper are going to land at 10 o'clock. And I was like, dope. And I was like, Nick, here's the flight to book. So me and Nick book our flight. And we're like, all right, see you guys at 10 a.m.,
Oh,
bright and early.
genius.
And Matt was like, actually, our flight's for 10 p.m. So me and Nick had a solid 12 hours to kill in Dallas, like, by ourselves. Like, no idea where we were going to go. We were sitting
Oh
in, like,
my
we were
gosh.
sitting in the hotel lobby for a little bit of, like, the venue. Just, like, random pro players walking by, like, talking to whoever we knew. We ended up, like, meeting up with Callie and getting like she let us stay in her hotel room. Me and Nick knocked out. Like we were just fucking. Actually, we got barbecue, and which was pretty good. And we met
This sounds
Watson,
good.
and then
Yeah, that's
we
kind of what happened to me too, though. Like when I got there, me and Nate were kind of just like we didn't know what to do. We didn't like know like what you guys were doing or anything like that, kind of. And then so I Ubered to the hotel that Nate was staying at, and he fell asleep. I couldn't get in. So I literally
uh,
sat there for like 30 minutes. I was like, I don't know what to do. I just paid like $50 for a freaking Uber. So I had to end up Ubering to Callie's room, which cost an extra like $50. I spent like $100 that day just in freaking Ubers to get to Callie's room. So I had somewhere to be, and then I met you guys.
yeah, I think you came in there when I was like waking up.
Yeah,
Like I
you were
think I
waking
woke
up,
up
and
and I
then
was like, is that
Nick
Goldie's
was
voice?
still sleeping.
Oh yeah, he was.
He
After
was like passed out.
after Vegas and getting there, like after going to Vegas and getting there really early, when we were there super early, me and Keeper, I like just never ever wanted to get there early again, like at
Yeah.
any event. Like 10
Wait,
o'clock was kind of pushing it to. I didn't really like 10 o'clock either because I felt like I got way less sleep and had way less time to eat and stuff.
yeah.
But and I don't know. I'm definitely gonna go with like a midday next time. Like try to land at
Oh
like
yeah.
3 or like 5 or something, and then
100%.
hopefully plan to like land with everyone at the same time because even if there isn't shit to do, just being with everyone makes it a lot better.
Well, that's what when I'm hopefully in Indianapolis at the time for our flight. If it's cheaper out of Indy, you can drive to me, and if it's cheaper out of Chicago, I can drive to you, and like we can guarantee like traveling together. And I mean, if Nick's really down to travel together, if it saves him enough money, because I know that flying out of Columbus is ridiculous, but you could definitely drive to one of us or wherever we can meet up to fly out of the cheapest altogether. We'll be able to at least land at the same times. But
Yeah.
yeah, we ended up like just chilling. Like I slept most of that day, and it like ended up screwing up our sleep schedule. And then besides the fact that I just fucked up where I told Matt and Keeper to Uber to, and they just like Ubered to like the complete opposite hotel direction we were going. I had to pay for their fucking dinner because I felt
Oh.
bad. um,
You were just fucking grinding my gears all weekend, bro. On like some most annoying shit. Like, you literally wasted me so much money on that Uber.
I paid for your Waffle House. It had to have made up for it.
And he just pissed me off.
Yeah, dude, you and Keeper were mad heated.
I tell you what, that
Hell
does
yeah,
not
was.
make up for it. The Ubers there were so expensive.
Don't
So like
play
literally
against
I
me.
paid for like all the Ubers that everyone took, and I ended up probably spending like at least $200 to $300 in Ubers that weekend.
Yeah,
I
it was
mean,
really far
I
from
was
the
I was already
airport, too.
fed up that day too, cause like, not like fed up, but like I had like a similar travel day with like Keeber, cause I'm like I meet up with him over by like his house, cause we live really close to. In case anyone didn't know, me and Keeber live like I live like 20 minutes away from him. We both live in Chicago, so like I met up with him at his house so we could fly out together. And this man had like so much stuff to do still. I get to his house and he's like running around. We're like running around doing shit, and that's like fine. And then we get back and I'm like, all right, all we gotta do is just like grab the stuff and leave. And he's like, oh yeah, I haven't packed yet. And I was just like, so I was like, all right, yeah, man, I'll help you pack. Just like throw me shit and I'll throw it in your bag. And then we spent like 5 minutes trying to zip this little bag he had with all his clothes in it. And then he like starts taking stuff. It was just so like, I just was not in the mood that day.
Dude, Keeper is like a trip to go to an event with or travel with, because when we were in Vegas, he was like, yo, check out these $150 wireless earphones I bought in the airport. And we're just like, what? Or like Snapchat glasses, or just like whatever he sees, he just cops for like the travel.
Yeah, he's just doesn't care. He always does. He's always done that.
He just buys, impulse buys.
Toe's headphones were fucking good as hell.
Yeah, they were
to be
really
fair.
good. They were like beats out like anything that's on the market right now, like those Apple AirPods. I think they even came out before like the AirPods. They were like Bluetooth. And Keeper just walking down the hallways of Mandalay Bay, just like, what? But besides the fact that I told Matt where to go on the wrong place on the Uber and then had to wait for him to get to the actual hotel that we were staying at, it was like what, like 11, 12 o'clock at night at that point. And like
By the time we got to the hotel, yeah, like we were in the Uber at like 10, and I was like, yo, where are you guys at?
I was like
And you're
leaving
like-
where I told you to be.
Yeah, so I'm like taking the Uber to where you told me you guys were, and then you're like, oh no, we're going literally the opposite way of you. Haha, sorry. Like, okay. So then we just get there and we take an Uber all the way back, and at that point I'm just fed up because I don't want to be in an Uber anymore. And then we finally get there and we can't even get into our hotel room yet because Shark and Prophecy aren't there yet.
Yeah,
So
we were
like,
in Nade's room, just like,
yeah, we're
with
in
all our
Nade's
shit.
room. And
But
then
that's
they
a-
finally get there, and we just went to whatever. It was just called Waffle House. Was it just like
Yeah,
the Waffle House?
The
or something?
Waffle House, dude.
Yeah.
It was like 12 o'clock at that point. No, we went there before Shark and Prophecy came.
Yeah, and then like met
Oh,
up with
you're
us, I
right.
think.
You're right. You're right.
And we split up we had two tables there. We were like the only
'Cause
people.
we had
in
to
the-
waste time.
Yeah, we were the only people in this Waffle House, and it was like the COD team at one table, and we were just acting a fool. Like we were like spilling
Oh yeah, you
drinks
guys are
and
ruffians.
we were, like,
us four,
yelling.
and then
Goldie
Oh,
Kelly
Nick.
and
Nate.
Nate. And they were like, just like, we don't know you. Like the COD team was just losing it inside of that Waffle
that
House.
made my entire day better, honestly.
Yeah, that was the best Waffle
That-
House midnight.
Everything that I went through that day was just suddenly worth it because I was just like, my stomach actually hurt from like laughing so hard.
That was bad. And I mean, for those of you guys that don't get or haven't traveled to an event yet, or kind of like travel and don't get like the pre-event hype, like to get every single time that like I go to an event anyways, I'm like, yo, 4 weeks of the event, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, and then like the travel day is super hyped, but it's just like it's always a pain in the ass. Like just to finally sit down, have everyone at a table eating dinner, and then like walking back to our hotel afterwards and like meeting up with our organization owners for the first time, getting our jerseys, like getting into our room and shit, like checking everything in was like the best sigh of relief. It was like 1 a.m. at that point, and we had to be up at like 9 to register. And that was
Yeah, if
fucking
you
fun.
go by yourself, it's kind of a little bit easier. But if you go with like an organization or something, especially if you have like a group like us, where it's like what 9, 10 people, it's definitely hard because everyone like I don't think some people like Remo and Matt and Nick and Keeber kind of tried to coordinate their times together. But as far as everyone else goes, everyone just had like different time flights. Everyone got there at different times. Everyone tried to meet up, and everything was so confusing. It took
Right.
so long. But once you're together, it's definitely worth it because it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
after that, you're just like it's definitely worth all the hassle.
And like we passed out. I'm pretty sure everyone passed out pretty quick. Like we all just got into our rooms. We woke up. That was Thursday night, and we woke up Friday morning. And dude, that's the best waking up Friday morning, dude. I love waking up Friday morning because we didn't lose yet, and we're just so ready to
really
play.
fun until we played our round 1.
Yeah, round 1 was not fun, but that's way skipping. But we get I mean, that was in the Fort Worth area, and I was in the Dallas area the like 2 years before for a COD event, and like they're both really amazing areas. Number one, but the venue that they picked was, and that they have picking lately has been like huge. Like
Yeah.
these events are like I remember South Carolina was like a really big event in Black Ops 3, but it was like they didn't use the space properly.
Oh no, there was there was way too much space for that event.
Mm-hmm.
Like it felt like they were trying to make it roomy, but they made it like way too roomy.
Yeah, and I mean I remember the Dallas beforehand. For AW, it was complete opposite. It was this small ass room, and open bracket was shoulder to shoulder, back to back. Like your chairs were borderline like zip tied together in a sense. Like that's how much room you had to wiggle. So to get to like an event that had like a venue that was like this big, and I mean like I know that Goldie, this was your first event that you ever went to, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It
Yeah.
was. It was really. I gotta say it was really cool. I really liked it. I liked. I did like the way they set up everything. As far as the main stage, and then they had, the UMGs and stuff like that, and they had the optic booth and whatever and all that other shit, the G Fuel. Um, but I think it was very cool. It was very awesome the way they set it up and stuff like that. I liked it.
Yeah, I really liked the 3-sided like feature stations. It was technically 4-sided, but the other side was for the analyst desk.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other 3 were just like the little feature stations, and I thought that was really dope.
Yeah, and I mean, just when we're going back to the events that like we attended in Black Ops 3, which is just the game right previous to Infinite Warfare. Like I went to 2 majors, and Matt went to a major, and they were just like, you walk in, everything's set up, like it's designed to work well, but it's not like aesthetically pleasing. So when me and Matt went to Vegas, and we walked in, and there was like this big huge entrance with like music and smoke and lights and lasers, and it was just like the craziest experience to walk down this hallway. I know it's like the same experience I know like Goldie had walking into Dallas, because it was like the same kind of like production. Like you just walk down this insanely long, probably overdrawn hallway while you're just listening to like wub wub music the whole way down and just getting hyped. And you get in there.
I remember when we were talking to Kibra when we were walking in at Vegas, and you're like, "You privileged motherfucker! Like,
Yeah.
you get to walk into this. You don't even understand. Like, this is your perception now of what the quality of these events is, when it really didn't used to be like this."
And like fuck you both, because when I went to my very first like local MES event, there was like a main stage, but it was like this small square room, and they had like 2 open bracket stations in this room, and every single wire was just coming down from the ceiling, from the drop ceiling, just like a billion wires taped to the floor. And just to like sit back and be like, I came from the small cinch headquarter room to this giant like Mandalay Bay, Vegas, or like the Dallas Convention Center room or Fort Worth Convention Center room. It's just I don't know, I love it, and I can't wait to see what they keep doing with it. And everything's like really solidly done. They split up the main stage really good from open bracket. I know that Goldie, you went as a spectator, and the first thing that I noticed about the event was, instead of setting open bracket up in a giant square section and having like rows inside the square section, they set up open bracket in rows, and in between each station was walking room, so you can always see, you could see both sides of the game if you wanted to watch either side of the team, but you couldn't like just like quickly rotate over and like run back and forth. It was like,
What was it? 3 rows, right?
it was like 3
It
rows.
was 3 really long rows, and it was basically just like the table. If you're looking at it from like the front of it when you're walking into it, it's basically like there's tables going down, and then tables going down, and then tables going down, and there's chairs on each side of them, and then there was space. So in between, like if you were in between 2 sections, like 2 tables, then you'd be able to just like walk through and you turn and you see one perspective or one team's perspective playing a game, and then you turn the other way and it's like all these other teams' perspective playing, and it's like you could literally watch any team that was playing at the event without a problem.
And like
in open bracket.
if you were, I mean, South Carolina didn't. They had like open bracket, but they didn't have like guidelines. Like you could surround an open bracket station. They didn't have like ropes and like passes, like coach passes and stuff. Like it was a pretty just open kind of bullshit. But they're pretty good about crowd control now. Where like most like media guys couldn't even get into Vegas's open bracket, and you can get like your coach or your manager, your owner in there if he had like a coach pass. But the coolest part was like winning a round or a game or whatever it was, and being able to like turn around and just fist bump whoever's watching. Or it was like you didn't have to sit outside this giant square and try to peek in to see who was winning. So like Goldie's privileged as hell to be able to like get that viewing experience. But I mean,
it was awesome. I got to event like shaking everybody's hand, high fiving all you guys like afterwards, even though I wanted to cry. You guys, I literally did like almost cry at some of those like matches I was watching you guys play.
Yeah, I had my Astros like I'm pretty sure everyone does, but everyone will have their Astros cranked if you're playing usually because it's too hard to hear without that. But like I had my Astros cranked all the way, and I could still hear like Goldie and Austin
Goldie.
And everyone just like
so
screaming.
Loud.
There was
especially game against Sigma when I was just like going off. Like I heard like hearing that after every like 2-piece or anything I was doing was just like motivation for me to just keep going. And just like hearing people behind you, it was just like an insane thing that I've never had before.
Right, you had how many people did you have watching that Periscope? Like
me?
Yeah, didn't you Periscope?
I think I had about over 100. I think it was over 150 people watching.
Insane. And I just and just speaking of like you yelling, I remember because I could distinctly hear you. You have like this like very girl subtle voice when you're talking right now, and then all of a sudden you just heard like, "Let's go HVK!" And I'd be like, "All right," like she's lost.
Listen, I yelled so loud, the loudest that I've ever yelled at those matches, and I think it was great. Like to hear everyone just like pumping you guys up was probably like the best thing.
Yeah, that was the most support we've ever gotten at an event from like people there.
I just remember distinctly the fact that I was so loud. Like everyone told me that I was like the loudest girl there.
Hell yeah.
I was like, I have to be.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I've never gone to an event to spectate. The closest was when I didn't attend Orlando, but I attended Orlando. And I think got knocked out early enough Saturday that I literally went up to the hotel room, changed into a Panda jersey before people even realized I was knocked out, and I just like supported the Panda team. But I mean, when we were watching Panda play at Orlando, I think he was playing against they played Cloud9 to get into pool, and Cloud9 ended up beating them. But like it was like who was on the Cloud9 team? It was like Havoc, Silly, Assault, and Swarley, I think, on that Black Ops 3 very end. It was right before they made the roster change for champs to Cole because they dropped Silly for Parasite, and then Silly didn't end up going to champs in Black Ops 3. But
when was Dito on that team?
That was way early, and like that was like Anaheim when Mox made that team.
Dito was on that team with Havoc, dude. I promise you.
Not at Orlando.
Okay.
He was done by Orlando.
That's late in the game, probably.
Yeah, because that was right before champs. But either way, it was like the same way that Goldie was yelling at like our team to get hyped up. The way open bracket was set up in Orlando wasn't like the Rose. Like you can only see like someone's perspective. So the perspective we saw was Cloud9 playing Panda, and we wanted Panda to win. So every time that like Silly would get turned on, and I feel so bad that it was Silly, like we would just scream at Silly. You'd have like 16 Panda guys like, "Your shot shaky," and Silly would just be like, "Oh my god, why are everyone yelling at me?" But
yeah, Silly's like such a chill player. Like
yeah.
I don't know, he's like not one to like talk shit really, and he just kind of sits there and chill. He's like just such a monotone person. So he's probably just sitting there like, I didn't even do anything, man.
He started off like super slow because that like whole Cronus Max garbage. That was the worst event I've ever like played at for controller lag. Like, and I mean South Carolina was kind of bad because it was like spinning and
it was still a new problem to them, so they didn't really have that. SC wasn't even like a Cronus thing because they didn't have Cronuses yet because they didn't even know
Mhm.
there was a problem with it.
Cronus is
It was just like Bluetooth issues, like
yeah,
everything you have with when you don't have the Cronus in,
yeah.
and then Cronus is just like a whole new world of issues that bring that like it brings like a whole new world of issues basically.
And they still use the Cronuses at events, and I had it when we warmed up at Vegas. Like I had like an issue where we ended up getting maybe like a minute of hardpoint practice in before they closed out in the booth. But in that minute, I didn't even think I got a kill because it was like weird, kind of like slow drag, and that's how it was at every single station in Orlando. They didn't figure out how to take that like delay off, that very slight like 1 millisecond delay. And for everyone watching who's like, "What's 1 millisecond?" It's insane what a
Yeah.
millisecond can do to you, to your snap, to your shot, to everything like that. So playing at that event was like when you first started a game, even if you've been playing all day, like it's just still a shock to you. So Silly wasn't warmed up. He started off maybe like like 5 and like 12, and then he ended up going like 36 and 25, and like ended up destroying Panda. They 2-0'd him, but we were all like, sorry, we talked shit, Silly. Like, we didn't mean to. We were just trying to hype the Panda guys up. So, like, an open bracket like that was pretty cool that we had, everyone standing behind us. And I don't even remember Vegas allowing people to have, like, the coaches inside there. It was pretty cool to have Shark behind us, like, with his arms crossed, like, yeah, these are my kids.
Talking about like warm up time, dude. I think Dallas is like the most warm up time I've ever had at an event, like before pre-event. You know what I mean? Like the first day, we were in there and we literally almost played a full series against. I don't even remember what that team was
They were
called.
a pretty good seed though.
What's up?
It was like the 35 seed, and we had like the 60 or 70 seed. They were like a decent team, and
we played like almost a whole series against them, and I was like, I've never had that much warm up time before.
oh yeah,
And that's probably why that round 1 loss was so disappointing.
yeah, round 1 was.
I felt like
fun.
we were literally gunning. Like I think we were just like overconfident after that, low key.
Yeah, I mean, besides like the fact that Kieber's whole monitor was weird or whatever was happening with it, like that was the one time where I experienced some like actual technical issues on
His
land.
controller was still broken.
Oh yeah, his controller was
Literally
broken too.
told him 3 times before the match to go fix his controller, and he didn't fix it. And then he was like, after the match, he was like, I don't know why I didn't fix my controller, dude. And I was like, I don't know why you didn't either, you
Right.
motherfucker. Like, and then he fixed his controller, and the next game he played, he was literally just like not missing. And I was like, God damn it, man. Like a round 1 loss just like puts you in such a bad spot. Like an early winners round loss just puts you in an awful spot regardless.
I hate that. I hate waking up and losers.
You don't make
Saturday.
at least. Yeah, I agree. I mean, still though, even if you lose winners round 3, I feel like you're in a better position than most people. But like, if you lose winners round 1 or 2, it's just like you're gonna have a really, really, really long Saturday.
Right, you wake up, you literally play so you lose Saturday. Like that's just unless you're gonna make Champ Sunday, you literally don't get a break. You start at like 9 a.m. You win your 9 a.m. match, you have a 10 a.m. match. You win your 10 a.m., you have an 11 a.m. until you like grind through like losers 2, losers 3, losers 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 until you make Champs bracket. Then you make Champs bracket and you have more matches to play later on that night until you make like T8 and you can play Sunday. It's like it's a really long day. So to start it in losers, you start at like 9 a.m., but to start in winners, you start at like 11, 12 a.m. or 11 or 12 p.m. or whatever. But regardless of all that, and this is where I want to make the topic transition before we talk more about Dallas. And this is like going to be really heavily hosted by Goldie, and she doesn't even know it yet, which is going to be fun. But
Oh,
so when it comes down to going to these events, the gender split is like 90% guys and 10% girls, and a lot of the time, like you had a really good time at Dallas, and obviously like you're in the gaming community and you know a little bit about it, but is this a place for just guys, or is this a place for like everyone to like relax and chill, and there's always something to do, always somewhere to go, even if you're outside the venue, you travel the city, etc. Like what's that like being a female? What can you say to other females to make them go to these events?
I think it's a place for everybody. Like, to be honest, like nobody ever, like, of course I had a few, people who stalked me, which is really weird, but let's not
It's
get
just
into that. That's a whole
guys.
other story. I think it's
a
a place
normal
for
thing
everybody though.
regardless of where you are.
It's very fun. It was very like, nobody looked at me weird. I had fun with all the guys, just like everyone else. Everyone treated me, the same. And then, like, it's not, bad because like afterwards you go walk around the city with people. You meet new people all the time that you get in contact with, and you become friends, and then you do all these other activities outside of the event. Um, I just think that the girls that were at Dallas, I think that most of them, well, I can't say that. I think that some of them, in my opinion, only came just because like they had a friend that was there, or like they didn't know anything about Call of Duty
Mm-hmm.
really. But I think some of them, like there were a few of them there that were there to support their orgs and stuff like that. So it was kind of a mix. But I think more girls should come. I think, yes, you should know Call of Duty before you come, please, because that just makes you look kind of stupid. Because I
Yeah.
had this one girl, I won't say any names, Remo, but I had this one girl stand next to me and she was like, "Oh, you scored." And I'm like, "No, they didn't. You can read the word defeat and you say they scored. That does not make any sense." Um,
Yeah. I
but nobody will fault you for it, like it's not like anybody cares. Everyone's there just have a good time, just to chill, meet new people and play games.
yeah, I definitely think that like I mean like popular to contrary belief, girls actually do play video games. Podcast Nation, like that's like a real thing. I sat down and I had the last podcast with I did with my brother. If you didn't see it, go check it out. I was talking to him and I was like, John, he's 30 years old. He's 10 years older than
Shameless
me.
plug.
And I was like, John, what does esports have to do to get people of your age group who like grew up through like the Nintendo days and like the N64 and like early consoles, like what do we have to do as an esport to get your viewership in to like boost our viewership? And like the answer he gave was like almost nothing that we can do would get his attention because that's just like not what he's like. He doesn't care about that anymore. So I started thinking of like how can viewership grow in esports? And when I looked at it, I'm like, we need to get like a more of a gender split than like 90-10 because if we got more females in, like we'd hold our viewership plus some. I feel like especially at events and stuff too with attendance, like even if you're like I've seen streamers for organizations, even if they don't know COD, like they'll just come down there to hang out, and it's more fun with a group of people. But I feel like it's still like a taboo to be a girl gamer at an event. Like I'm not saying fly down to the event alone and just like try to meet people, but I know personally for me, like I have like like what 1,500 Twitter followers. I could say 500 of these Twitter followers I actually know pretty well. 250 I know pretty close, and then like 100 of them I know like first last name, what they do. Like I know everything about them. To see all these people at these events for like the one weekend every 3 or 4 months is like an amazing experience. So if you're in the community and you haven't gone to an event, do just go. Like that's my advice.
It's
And
worth it. Like you meet so many like new friends, and like I have over 800 followers on Twitter, and I think about like 200 of them, I'd say about like 20 of them I knew in person, and then I think about the other like 100 I literally met at the event, and it was so much fun to like finally see them in person, get to know them, and like hang out, and just do a bunch of fun stuff.
yeah, you get to
Like
like
it's
a
definitely something like that you will never experience ever in your life. I don't care if you go to like a concert or like whatever you go to, there's nothing like going to like a COD event and just hanging out with people and like meeting new people and having fun.
it's just different. It's like the culture and like even like I love to go out to like culture places like eating in the area or like any kind of like sightseeing close and stuff like that is always worth it. And I don't know. I just like you said, like going to a concert is like one experience, but this is like a totally different like experience. It's almost like you can't explain it. Like you're just hanging around like everyone who has a common interest, and you get to learn. You know, you don't get to learn Slick, you get to learn Matt, and you don't get to learn Rogue, you learn Goldie, and you start like getting on like a first name basis, and it goes from like when I was God, maybe like 13 or 14 playing Halo 3, and I'd be like, Mom, Dad, I met a friend on the internet, and he lives blah, blah, blah. And they're like, he's probably a very older male, and he's going to trick you into coming visiting. And I was to the point where I'm like, dude, like, I know all of these people. They're not like that catfish that you think. So I think that, I mean, like, I made 101 connections between a lot of
Yeah,
people, and I,
yeah, not to get like off topic, but that happened to me too. My mom was so furious. She's like, "You need to stop talking out." Like people. they're gonna try to like kidnap you. You're gonna die, and I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I definitely know these people. They're definitely cool. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna die.
I'm like, I
Yeah,
sit
I
in a
mean,
Skype call for like 8 hours a day, calling out like team scrimming. Like, if you're a 40-year-old pedophile and you're team scrimming and you're doing this well, and you can convince me, yeah, I'll come to your house at that point. Like, you've earned my vote.
yeah, I just literally remember like first time I told my mom I was like doing stuff like this, and she just immediately just like, Matthew, are you sure you're like? And I was like, Mom, trust me, like there's like you literally don't have to worry about anything. And now she's like one of the people that like encourages me to go to these things because she knows
Yeah.
how much one I like to do this, and two, like the other part of it is for me is just like traveling, dude. Like I
Oh, I
love
love
traveling.
traveling.
It's so
Yes, it's
much
the
fun to
best.
just go to different places. And she knows that, like both of those combined for me are just like my like I just love doing both of them so much, and the fact that I can do them together is just like unbelievable to me.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, both of my parents actually really support me in it. I mean, they definitely want me to like they've encouraged me to do it, but they want me to keep my priorities straight. Like I'm
Oh
still
yeah.
in school and everything, but they still encourage it and everything. And then going back onto the gender split thing, I want to talk about really quick is I feel like a lot of girls that go to these events do like actually have an some like most of them at least actually have an interest, but don't in Call of Duty, but like don't are kind of too scared to like ask about how it works essentially.
Oh yeah.
So like they
I
want
think
to observe
though,
and support their friends and like understand the game, but I feel like a lot of them are too afraid to like ask someone to explain it to them when I don't think any I mean unless for the most part if you're talking about like me or Remo here at least like if you come up to me as like a girl at an event asking me like how the game works to explain it to you so you can watch it like I'm not going to be like oh, you don't know? I'm gonna be like,
What a
I'll explain it to
loser.
you. Yeah, like I'm not gonna like hate you for it or put you down for it. Like I'll explain it to you. If you wanna, if you're trying to be an observer, that's just another person to add to our community that like can watch and understand the game, and like I appreciate that.
I
I
remember.
totally get that. Like it makes sense. I think they're mostly scared to ask because since it's male dominant, it's kind of like embarrassing that like you go to this event and then they'll laugh at you because you'll be like, I don't know anything about Call of Duty, but you're at a Call of Duty event. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So like, and I think that they'd rather ask a girl, but like there's not many girls there, so they're just kind of
Yeah.
standing there and they're like, hey, like I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna like cheer for somebody's name and like that's it. Cause guys are guys and they
Yeah,
will. Some of them will be jerks and some of them will be like, then why are you here? Like why did you come? And
yeah.
then they'll be, and then the girls just they'll not want to go anymore.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I understand that. That's definitely more of
But I feel like
like a
either way,
society problem, like with
yeah,
how guys are just like instead
I
of
feel
guys taking it as like in like the positive way and just like immediately thinking about it like hey I can help this person understand something and they're here to like try to understand it and then they can like support their friends or maybe like you become acquainted with them because you do something like that and then they start supporting you like people don't think about it the right way people immediately just think like then why are you here like they
Mhm.
always
yeah,
like put a negative
exactly.
connotation to it and it just doesn't make any sense to me.
So then they get scared and they don't want to do it. I mean, like we're all there for the like one reason. We're there for COD or we're there for to make friends or whatever. So we all have like a common thing. So why not just be nice to the person and explain it to them, and then that makes it like a whole better thing. Not only does it make the event better for them, so they kind of understand it, but you also make friends and whatnot too. And be like, hey, I can help this person understand, and now they know Call of Duty too, and then we talk about it together, or like whatever the
And
case may be.
they can like if you explain it to one person you don't know like once they have that knowledge then they can be the girl that explains it to other girls like you have to think about it that way then those girls can be the girls to explain it to, like it's just like a chain you don't realize like one you telling one person can lead to like I don't know like 15 20 people knowing and then more and more and it just like multiplies like you
I
don't
just
Right.
I just wish more girls would be into Call of Duty because I think it's so much of a. I mean, it is guy dominant. I will be completely honest with you, and this is my complete honest opinion. It will always be guy dominant. Guys will always be better at Call of Duty than girls will be. That's just my perspective of it. Now, like, do I have a lot of respect for the girls that play with them? Like Kyo.
Mhm.
Kyo is my best. She's like a good friend of mine. I have mad respect for her that she can play with the guys and do well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
we've scrimmed and like played against Kyo before.
Oh, yeah, she's really good.
She's really good.
yeah,
Like nothing
Her
taken
like
away from her
Dream
at all.
Crazy, like, and I know there's like a female pro league, but I was
It's
actually
not
talking.
like there's girls that can't be as good as guys. It's just like
no,
it's
I
like
just
I understand what you're saying. It's more of like the majority of girls won't be as good as
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
And like
exactly.
I definitely kind of agree with you, but like I can never like predict the future. Like if
I
more girls get
yeah,
into it, you never know. You never. It's not like a more physical sport where like scientifically like guys are like like easily more physically capable at doing things because they like gain muscle fat, like all that shit. It's just like it's like your brain and your like thumbs and your fingers, and
and our
there's
pointing.
definitely girls in the world that are as smart as guys. Like it's not like there's no like
Right.
I don't know the word. There's no like fallout with that. Like
hmm
that's like where men and women are like equal. Like the way we think, like our brains. There's men that are smarter than women. There's women that are smarter than men. So like I feel like any girl can easily come into the scene and like hang with guys.
They're just they're scared to do it though, because it's a lot of like craziness, you know. Like some people say, oh yeah, she does it for attention and blah blah, blah, or like, oh yeah, she does it for money. I think there's so many different like variables that somebody could say of why she's playing, and that's the like the hard part. But I hope that like in the future, more girls will just you know watch Call of Duty, play Call of Duty, get into these events instead of like I want more of like I want to see more mixed teams, I guess, with both genders than just,
yeah.
FPL and then, you know, most of the just
Yeah.
regular guys team
Well, back.
because I just think it's a lot better, like it's just not, like you they can be looked at I guess technically you could say they can be looked at as equal, but I mean we are equal technically. But instead of having FPL and other teams, they can just be one
Yeah.
together. You don't
I
have to
I
have
feel like
separate.
I feel like it'd be super dope if there was a girl that was just really good. That like just to like have like be able to say like I'm teaming with this girl and she's good as fuck at Call of Duty. Like
Yeah.
that'd be really dope. And
I
just like a long time Call of Duty player standpoint.
I remember, and I was talking to David about this the other day, and he was like, there used to be, and I remember in AW too a lot, but organizations used to not beg for, but like actively search to fully fund a female team just to have one, like a 4 girl team. And like we played, and like there would be like 3, 4, 5 full girl teams at like events. And when we went to Dallas and AW, like our team played like Jazzberry and her team, and like we beat like we 2-0'd them and whatever. But when like we got up to like shake hands afterwards, like you could see the look of defeat in all of those girls' faces, like how bad they actually wanted to compete and how bad they were actually like invested in it, not just like we got a free trip down here type deal. And
Yeah.
that disappeared. There's miscellaneous like a couple like all girls teams for fun, but like I can't imagine if we got like 6, 7, 8 full girl teams back into it, and then eventually if they kept playing like that, then we could split into the multi co-ed teams. But and just going off what Matt was talking about, like just explaining to somebody like what the event's like. I remember back in again in AW, it was like an MES event, and whoever I was dating at the time and Damien, Alpha, his girlfriend, both came down to the event. I think this was like both of their first events, and it took me a long time trying to convince my girl to come down there, and same with Damien. And we were playing like these close games, and like I remember Damien's girlfriend was recording us, and it started to get close, and she just like dropped her phone and stopped recording because she got so nervous watching us play that she literally couldn't record anymore. And I remember talking to Mackenzie, she was like, oh my god, like I didn't know what was happening, and then like you were yelling, and then they were yelling, and then you were yelling again, and then you got up and you started screaming at them, and I've never seen you like this before. And I'm like, yeah, this is like what we do. Like we don't like we have fun with it. Like the events aren't just like as nerdy as you might think, where we all just sit down and we're like geeking out. Like it's intense. It's
actually very
adrenaline.
competitive.
So
And that's how I was at Dallas. That's why like I literally screamed to the top of my lungs. I lost my voice for like
yeah.
a few days after I got home. I like almost cried every time you guys lost. I think the very last matches you guys had when we lost, I almost like started crying. I just didn't want to cry in front of everybody, but you could kind of see my eyes like tearing up a little bit. Like I was actually like really upset
Yeah.
about it.
I've
Yeah,
taken
I've never been close enough with someone that I'm not teaming with, unfortunately, to like watch them and
Mhm.
like see like the pain that they go through of like losing. So like I can't even like touch on that topic because like pretty much like my closest friends through gaming, either like it's like Remo, and like it's basically my teammates, and like I've never really strayed away from my those like these teammates, so I can't even like explain that, but it just like feeling it as like a player, it's like the most awful feeling ever.
Oh god, losing sucks.
It's
It's
just like,
so bad.
Especially close
and then from
games.
like my perspective, from like I guess like a spectator perspective in this case, or like a friend perspective that
Yeah.
doesn't play. To us, it's like we look at you guys, we see you guys. You may not be before Dallas. So you guys put in a lot of time, but I know you guys you work really hard. You love going to these events and you compete so much and you play for hours on end. And it's just like heartbreaking for us to see you guys. It's not only is it heartbreaking to us to watch you guys lose after we put so much like you know of our heart and soul into cheering you guys on and wanting you guys to win. We also see how upset you guys are after you guys lose, and it's heartbreaking as well. Like in that point too, because you guys you play hours on end, not only at the event but out of the event. You guys work so hard, and then to lose, it's soul crushing.
It's emotional, would you say?
It's emotional.
Here's a good question, Reem. What is like the worst loss you've ever had? Like the worst you've ever felt after a loss? Like
Getting
give
knocked
me
out
like
by
a
females on land. I don't fucking know. That was like a really like I mean that wasn't necessarily a devastating loss, but like
no, I mean like devastating. Like one that you were just like, I'm trying to think of mine. I think I know mine.
I mean if you know yours, go because I really got to think about this.
Not even one that we got knocked out of the tournament. It was just one that literally could have changed like everything for us, and it was the Kingdom match
I
at
was thinking that.
SC in Black Ops 3. We literally lost the hardware point like 250 to 230.
36.
Yeah,
Something
236.
crazy close.
And then the uplink we literally lost to a last second throw. Like they threw it over. The worst part about that for me is that I had a chance to intercept the throw and I missed the wall run. Like I didn't grab the wall run the right way.
The truth
And
comes
like
out.
I tried to jump up. Don't go there
I
right now.
choked the entire kill anyways on the fucking
You
wall
literally
run.
hit the wall run and the kid was going across the middle map and I watched you miss an entire clip.
Dude, I hit him. He was
We won't talk
absolute.
about
I
that.
hit
We
it.
won't
He was
talk
all right. Anyways, devastating loss. I agree.
I like that right there could have changed like our entire event because
That was
that
our
is
career changing. That was from T48 in losers to T24 in winners. Like we had to win another match in losers to get T32, and they were T24.
fucking LCQ.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
last second throwing up link. If we go to S&D2, we win. Like
Oh yeah, a
100%.
billion%. And I
that never felt worse. And now we still had to play a tournament. Like we still had to keep playing the next day, and it was literally the worst feeling
we knew
ever.
we had to play a really good ass team, and
Wow.
I that was a really devastating loss for me. I've had like I don't know what's worse to like really go off and like it not be enough and lose, or to really shit the sheets and lose. Probably shit the sheets and lose. But I mean, I've gotten reverse swept on land, like down or up 5-0 in search, and they come back. Like that's like kind of like crushing when stuff like that happens. That's more like emotionally like sad, like wow we suck. But like I think I'd have to go with the Kingdom match because if we make T24, we get to play a pro team in winners and see how we hold up against them. We get sent down to losers if we lose, and then we have an opportunity to be like T20. It's like 16 through 20th. After that, if we win that losers match, and like that was a difference in funding. That was a difference in pro points. That was literally like a lot. There was a lot on that match. And I know I didn't do like spectacular in the hard point, and like we all did like pretty equal in the uplink, and it was just like to come up short like that was so sad.
Not only all that too, but like we were playing a team that we scrimmed like a lot. That Kingdom team was like a team it was like a rivalry. It was more friendly than anything now that I look back at it, but like it was just like a really heartbreaking loss. Like that was definitely my best, like my worst one. I mean, it was like my best worst one, but The other one that was really like shitty for me was the first ebash of this game, losing to Demented
Frenchie made.
Inco. Even though it was
Oh
an ebash in a
yeah.
local like that, we had a good chance at winning that event. Like we had a really good chance at just winning
Never
that
mind.
event and getting
That's my
ourselves.
worst loss because that S&D was like 3 rounds were on me easily.
Yeah, I mean, like I
Easily.
played really well that series,
Yeah.
so I like it wasn't like worse than Kingdom because like I felt like I've underplayed or just didn't play as well as I should have at the Kingdom match. I played okay, but nothing like spectacular. That that match against Demented Inco, I was literally going off against
Oh yeah,
them.
we
Like
all had really
after
good
the game, they were
respawns.
literally like, "Yo, who was your NV4 player?" And I was like, "That was me." And they were like, "Dude, you're nasty." I was just like, that one just like hurt though, because that was like to start our year off with like a lot of
Trust
confidence, and
me.
we had a good chance at.
That no, that 100%. I didn't even think about that match. That was the most devastating I've ever had because I put in more time. I put in as much time as probably like all three of you guys, and just to like be the
I
one
agree
that
with
like had
that.
the bad S&D. Like in it, it didn't even show my stats because my stats were like 5 and 6 or 5 and 7, but it was like choking a kill on a kid who's not moving on bomb, being trusted to watch flank and not being able to fucking hear gunshots next to me because we're using fucking party chat and it's echoing and we get 2 piece on flank because I wasn't paying attention. It's like close enough to my right. And then I think I had like one more round. Oh yeah, where I should have hopped on bomb right away when we were in a 2v1 and I kind of pushed up to help you and then backed up to bomb and I got killed off bomb. It was like 3 really bad rounds like in a row to lose round 11, but yeah, that was devastating. That was like I literally like I walked out of the venue, I just sat in my car and I was like, well, I fucking hate my life.
I'm not sure about that.
Thank you, Alexa. Stop. Yeah, she's not sure about that either. But
You made
no,
a good point earlier, though, Remo, how you said you lost an all-girl team on LAN.
it wasn't all girls. It was 2 girls, to be fair.
It was 2 girls?
Two. It was
See?
Berlin K and somebody else, and then it was like
Scruffer, right?
no, not Scruffer. It was I was teaming with Scruffer. Not
Oh
Scruffer.
yeah,
No, I
you
was
were.
teaming with yeah, Scruffer. But it was
Isn't
Ramby
like an
Bambi.
S&D start?
Ramby Bambi.
Yeah.
I think that's one of like the best parts, though. To be honest, I would have said this with all I say. No offense, I love you guys. I love the mankind, but I guess say one of the best things about playing Call of Duty and playing like with guys and beating them. I think that's the best thing ever. Just
Yeah.
to like beat a guy, and most guys are like, "Man, I lost to a girl." I'm like, "Well, I
Well,
mean, you lost, you lost,"
I'll
And
give
and
them.
it's kind
that's
of good.
the
It's kind of a good feeling
I'll give
for a
that team
girl.
full credit because it's not like we went down to losers, lost to them, and then they lost like out of the tournament. Like after they made a run, they placed T32. Like that team ended up placing T32. Like it was disappointing. Like on paper, like 2 girls, 2 guys. Like yeah, we were a little upset, but at the end of the day, like they were beaming. Like I don't even care. They were fucking
I feel
beaming.
like I feel like the main reason there's that girls don't play is just like the norm of the community.
Which is bullshit.
Like these girls don't get the practice they deserve to be as good as they deserve to be. Essentially, like if they're not good enough, then I mean that makes sense. But like they'll scrim like a good team. They're not good enough, but they scrim a good team. They get blown out. That team doesn't want to play them again. That's how it goes. That's how it goes with guys. Like that's just how it
Mhm.
works. But if that is sometimes I feel like if the team is like a bunch of girls and they do well against guys, that some of these guys are like so embarrassed to get beaten by girls that they actually won't play against them again.
Yeah, exactly.
So
They
like
don't.
they
They
don't
don't.
these girls don't get the practice they deserve, so they're not as good as they can be. And like that's like one problem I see in the community that holds girls back is just guys being way too prideful and having too much dignity to just take an L and regardless of who it's against, just accept it and be like, wow, this is good practice. Like we should probably play them again and learn from it.
Well, I think that does like factor in. I think there's like three like the common factors. One, that's one part of it. I think two, is that not only is it so competitive, that it's competitive to the point where if they lose to a girl, they don't want to. And I think the third thing of it is that they just in general, I feel like lately now too that teams have been wanting to win so badly that they'll kind of do like I wouldn't say any like thing to do it to get it, but like if that means like not having a girl on their team, then they won't have a girl on their team, even if
Yeah.
she's good. You know, like they just want to win.
Well, on the flip side,
They want to be on main stage.
yeah. On the flip side of that, and I talked to, I don't know if you guys know Leoko. She used to be in the
Yeah.
FPL, and she ended up like dropping out of that as well. But she was talking on the Panda podcast one time. I was running that. We did like the one episode that made it, and we were talking about the FPL and everything like that. And she was like, yeah, like one time I was going into an event, and it was like 2 weeks out, and I was like pretty confident in my team. It was like two guys and two girls, and then like, oh, like 2 weeks before the event, the one guy messaged me and said like that the only reason he was teaming with me is because he wanted to hook up with me at the event. And she's like, and I immediately left the team. Like, that's not why I'm in COD. And it drove Leoko out of COD. Like, she doesn't compete anymore. She does photography and videography and stuff like that. And, like, good for
That is
her for
part of it
finding another
too.
place in the community.
That's
And
fucked up.
yeah, but,
That's
like,
a huge part of it though,
that
because
is a huge
also like
problem. Guys are horny
my
assholes.
experiences in Dallas was a lot of experiences with guys, a lot of experiences, but most of them there, not it's kind of off topic, but on topic, most of them there, even just in general, like wanted to be my friend or only wanted to talk to me there just to get with me, you know? So I couldn't
Right.
imagine like being on a team and you only being on the team because somebody on the team wants to get with you, you know? Like in general, I had probably about like 30 to 40 guys on Twitter like message me or try to like see me there and try to like hook up with me or be friends with me to hook up with
Yeah.
me, or I had some guy stalk me at the event because he
It's
wanted to hook up with me.
it's
Like it's
problematic.
it's
It's
very problematic. It's not fair to us because like we're there for maybe a few reasons. We're there for friends, or we're there for because we're really into COD. But we're not there to get with you. Like we're there to either have a good time or
yeah.
play Call of Duty and talk to people. That's about the extent of it. Like don't sit there and try to get with us just because you think like that's the only reason we're there or blah blah blah. It's because no, like most likely it's because we're into God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a huge problem in general with any competitive sport, though. Now, like, kind of thinking about it, it's not really anyone's fault. It's just like the way we
No,
are as humans. Like, it's hard to like put two separate genders on a team because you never know. Even if your intention isn't like I'm only teaming with you because you're, like I'm trying to get with you. Like that, there could be like a really good female COD player and a really good male player that want to team together because they both think each other are good. But like the other like thing that comes into play is like, what if they're attracted to each other? Like then that becomes like another like, you know what I mean? That becomes a whole nother
Yeah.
thing that you have to worry about, and then you have to start like either putting it off or figuring it out,
or
or
setting
if you,
boundaries or something.
yeah, setting boundaries, or like if you do to get into something, you have to start separating like work and
Yeah.
like like your personal, like it's just like that's
But
I
you
feel like
know,
one reason. I mean, not necessarily. Like, I feel like in modern society, it's more because guys are like fucking assholes and
well, I
want to
actually
dominate everything. But like, one reason, like logical reason, I see that guys and girls are separated is because of that. Because like, there can definitely be like a guy and a girl that are like, okay, like we want to play on the same team because we're both really good, but they can also, just without
it
wanting to, it's just like your body,
it
like you gain
happens.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
you're attracted to that person, so
I
like
think
that
it's
causes issues.
no, I think it's half to blame and half not to blame because
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, like yeah, they are horny bastards, but I mean half of it like I remember at Dallas like
Retweet.
literally so much of it. I literally remember so much of it just being like girls literally just wanting to go there and just like have sex with so many dudes there and like it just aside from the drama and stuff like that, but that's literally what it was. And like I remember at Anaheim too, it was like the same thing, you know, like most of the girls there just smashed a bunch of people and that was it.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily blame them a little bit on that case because most of the girls there, that's literally what happened. They acted like they were just there to get some dick and that was it. You
Yeah.
know, instead of like being in Call of Duty or whatever the case may be. Um,
I mean, I
being in that position too, though, was kind of like, yeah, I was definitely there for Call of Duty and for the org and stuff like that. And it make it seem like, you know, like
I
those
can attest.
opportunities
I can
came to
attest to
me.
that too. Like,
yeah, you were there for the COD team, and not to say that
You were
like
literally with us like most of the weekend.
I
yeah,
tried to, but like since it was my first event, I wanted to try to hang out with,
No,
get
yeah.
to know a lot of people that I could, get to know and hang out with. So,
If we
but
were playing though, like you were
yeah,
there.
you were always
yeah, I
behind
was
us, and
there. I was
that's
always there.
it's like a mix of like business and fun in my eyes. Like obviously, like when I have any kind of scheduled matches to play, like on a Friday, and I know I'm going into Saturday, like I don't get turned in the hotel room Friday night when I know I have to wake up Saturday.
Yeah.
Like it's just being professional and like to you know I'll gloat myself and be like I'm not the problem, but there was like a
I don't even stay out late. Like it's not even like just like I don't. I go to like
yeah,
I
we
go to
want to sleep. We're like
sleep.
melatonin gang, but
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say to like a lot of the people who are out there to like hooking up with people at events. I know that Friday, Saturday, and like not Sunday because I wasn't there Sunday, but like there was like a opportunity for me to like go hang out with a girl or be with my teammates. And like I said earlier, I see my teammates once a weekend every couple months if we're going to events consistently or if we can arrange like a get together vacation concert whatever it'll be. So like for anyone who's out there, like take advantage of the fact that like you're seeing your homies from across the fucking globe once that whole weekend, like for that one time, just like go to like bring everyone into a hotel room. Like we threw hotel parties with Charles all the time,
Yeah.
and just getting like don't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna go hang out with like this one girl, or I'm just gonna hang out with like my two teammates. Like get like 15 people in a room, get a noise complaint, and have fun with that kind of stuff because that beats anything.
It
That
was fun. It was actually really fun. And, like I can attest for that because I went to go hang out with who is actually my current boyfriend right now. Um,
Is he
to
dead
hang
right
out with
there?
him. Yeah, he's sleeping. I actually went to go hang out with him, and I know the next day that they had to play, that Havoc had to play, and so we hang out with like I was a bunch of dudes in the room, and it was a lot of fun and stuff like that. And then they all left, and then I had a little bit to drink, and I was up until like freaking 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I knew we had to be there early the next day, and like it was fun, but I was still like there on time to watch Havoc play. Like I did not miss a second of any match, and I didn't want to. Like I was solely, I think, in, without business and fun. I think I literally was just there solely to like watch my team and be with my team because that's what matters the most. I don't really, yeah, I hung out with other people and stuff like that, but if I had the option to be like, hey, you can either hang out with people, like other friends, or you could hang out with your org, I would definitely choose my org because that's
yeah,
what
and
it was about.
and it's
Because it's a
easier.
lot of fun.
It's easier and it's different for people who go there to spectate and stuff like that. But when it comes down to like me as a COD player, like number one, I know how much time every one of my teammates puts in. I know everything that they sacrifice. I know all the money they invest, and as organization owners, I know the money that they invest, and I know the money that they invest traveling to come out with us. Like if I'm gonna be with anybody that weekend with all that time, money, emotion, effort put into it, like those are the people I'm gonna be with. Like I'm not gonna be with the person who like bought a last minute plane ticket, like, hey, check it out, I'm here. So
Yeah, I feel
You
like
make me want to cry so bad. I literally miss Dallas so much. I'm like, it was so much fun. I think I remember like after I got home. Well, it was actually in the Dallas airport. I cried in the Dallas airport. I cried the day like when I got home. I cried the day after that. I cried for like a week straight. Like I can tell you that is the
it is.
most fun that I've ever had,
oh,
and just being with like your closest friends and like the memories that you make and like the moments that you have is they're like irreplaceable. Like that is literally one of my, if not my first like best favorite like moment vacation ever in my life.
It's like coming back from a good vacation. If like anyone wants to relate the feeling, if you've never been to an event, hopefully you've been on a good vacation. Because
yeah.
if you haven't, then sorry.
Alright.
But like you come back and you're kind of just like depressed
Oh yeah.
for a little bit because
Well,
you're just like that like it's mostly like the week after, maybe like
oh
a
yeah.
little less if you're like depending on the person, but like that like week you're kind of just like, man, I miss like being with all my friends, like being in a different place I'm unfamiliar with. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
technically if it's an event you've been to and it's in the same place before, then it's not, but like it's just like the environment. You miss
I don't
like
know.
the environment, the feel, like the vibes, and it just kind of makes you depressed to not be there anymore.
Well, check it out, guys. We are an hour and 5 minutes into this. We've been talking for so long, and like I inevitably almost like have to end this because it's gonna like I know we could talk for easily another hour. We got halfway through Dallas, and there's still another half, and we could probably do an extension of the podcast later. But I'll end
Glad
what
I
Matt.
end with depressed.
No, but I'll say that to end what Matt was saying really quick. For any of you guys that get really upset about events being over. Make sure to wash your fucking hands at the events because it's the gift that keeps on giving. And if I have post-land sickness one more time, it makes me not miss the event. But otherwise, it's a great time.
Wash your hands. Just take some hand sanitizer,
And just
when you're
Carry
just, like, around, just like
it's this motion and this motion, like so.
This is gonna sound really girly, but just carry bottles of hand sanitizer with you and
just throw
always
them
wash
at
your
people.
hands.
Just throw
Because I'm
them.
telling you, I cannot tell you how many people like tweeted that they were sick after Dallas, and I was so
people.
thank God that I wasn't sick, but
like
so
airborne.
many people were sick, and I'm like, just wash your hands. I don't even care if you just took a piss and you're a girl and you didn't have to touch a wiener. Just wash your hands. Bring hand sanitizer, okay?
So with that being said, and we'll wrap up the podcast really quick. Something I always like to do at the very end of podcasts is I like to ask the podcast question of the day. Now I know that this video might get 10, 15 views, or for some reason it could blow up and get 10,000. But let's act like 10,000 people are watching this. We're gonna come up with a podcast question of the day. Usually I let the other person who's doing it with me come up with that question themselves, but we'll come up with it as a group since it's all of us. Podcast question of the day. Whatever we ask, we'll look in the comments to see what people answer. So it could be something goofy. It could be something like, what do you guys want to see at the next COD event? What do you guys want to do for a question that we want to get answered in the comments? Like it could be, do you think females will ever really come back to try to compete in video games? Do you want to do, what's your favorite fucking color?
Will you be at the first World War II event?
I'm for it. Are you going to be with the blue HVK jersey on? But yeah, are you going to be at the first World War II event? Make sure to answer in the comments. And that's going to go ahead and be our podcast, guys. An hour and 5 minutes. If you're this far into it, thank you so much for taking the journey with us and having some laughs and some good times. If you didn't check out last week's podcast, go check that out. And if you're watching this later, go check out the next couple podcasts coming up. I have a lot of people lined up. Appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to leave a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share with your friends. And YouTube will catch you later.